All right, hello there. Welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. All right, it's time for another Criterion Collection review for you. This is a recent release from the Criterion Collection that is now out on Blu-ray. Spine number 1222. This is a new film in the collection. It's a 1951 film and an excellent piece of Mexican cinema from 1951 from director Emilio Fernández, starring the wonderful Ninon Sevilla. And it is Victims of Sin, or Victimas del Pecado. This is one of my favorite covers of the year. I'll tell you that right now. So far, this is one of the best covers of the year. In fact, if you tell me, James, I think this is the best Criterion cover of the year, you get no argument from me. And the film itself is wonderful. I really enjoyed this film. I'm looking forward to sharing with you my thoughts, what I think about this movie. It's a wonderful discovery for me of an area of cinema that I have very little familiarity with, and it's a wonderful genre of Mexican cinema called the cabaretera, which is a subgenre of the prostitute melodrama in Mexican cinema that was filmed in the 1940s, 1950s, mid 1900s, and this is an excellent example of that. Ninon Sevilla was a discovery for me. What an amazing, amazing performer. But on the other side of this, I want to take a few minutes and share with you some thoughts on this film from Emilio Fernández, as well as talk about the picture quality of this film on Blu-ray, which has a new 4K digital restoration. How does it look on Blu-ray? What are the supplements like? Are they worth going through? Is this a release that is worth picking up in an upcoming 50% off sale? So those are the things I'm going to touch on in this review, and I definitely look forward to hearing your comments and what you think about this film. And hey, have you seen Victims of Sin? Let's talk about it. I have to say, this is a film that, the Criterion Collection, this is why I collect Criterion titles. And this is why, on a lot of these reviews, I really enjoy a lot of these films. I got to tell you, this is a label that consistently puts out films that challenge me in the area of film discovery, that just amaze me in terms of the films that are out there that I never even knew existed. And you just get the opportunity to discover, different areas of cinema, different filmmakers, different genres that you may not be familiar with. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to discover films. And Victims of Sin, Victimas del Pecado, is a great example of that. So let's jump right into some of the content that we're going to get into here. So on the stage here, we have, of course, one of the theatrical posters of Victimas del Pecado. This is a Mexican film. It came out in 1951. This film starred Ninon Sevilla, Tico Junco, and Rodolfo Acosta. Those were the three main characters. On the right here, you'll see director Emilio Fernández, where he's actually playing a character in a film. I don't know the name of this film, but that is one heck of a sombrero that Mr. Emilio is sporting there. This is my first film of Emilio Fernández's filmography, and I'm just learning about him. But from what I understand, he has been hailed as one of Mexico's greatest directors. So this is one of the greatest directors out of the nation of Mexico. He's known for his ability to convey deep emotional narratives through striking and visual storytelling. That is very much exemplified in this film, Victims of Sin, because you see so much emotion that is going on with some of the heartbreaking moments, some of the heart-affirming moments. It is a film that takes you through different waves of emotions based on what's going on. This is also a title that, to be completely honest with you, took me a few minutes to really get into, because it just took me a few minutes to get into the narrative. But once the narrative got going, I got to tell you, it gripped me and had me going the rest of the way. So, but I had to kind of feel my way through the first 10 or 15 minutes and sort of see, okay, where is this going? But once it got going, once a certain thing in this film happened, a switch just came on for me, and I was like, wow, this is, first of all, is breaking my heart to see this. And I, I'm in. I got to see where this story goes. So it's just fantastic example of emotional narratives being put into an amazing film from this great director that I'm looking forward to seeing more of his filmography. So he's known for his collaborations with cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa, which there's a wonderful supplement on here about Gabriel Figueroa from a director that many of you, I mean, from a cinematographer that has made many films that a lot of people are familiar with in the mainstream world that I'll show in just a few minutes. So it's one of those examples of, wow, based upon our current day modern films that we are familiar with, those films have been influenced by the cinematographer of this little gem from Mexican cinema of 1951, Victims of Sin. All right, moving on to the next slide here. That is Emilio Fernández, the wonderful director of this film, influenced many films that have come out since. Of course, we have the wonderful, incomparable talent and beauty of Ninon Sevilla. What an incredible discovery this was. Seeing this film, seeing her incredible talent on display from an acting standpoint, from a dancing standpoint, she literally just, when she is on screen, it is just the electric power that just pulls you in. I mean, she is absolutely stunning and was an amazing performer from a dancing standpoint, from an acting standpoint. Just a wonderful, wonderful character all the way around. Ninon Sevilla. She, in this film, she played a dancer in a nightclub who basically finds an infant in a garbage can and takes this infant in and becomes the mother of this child and raises the child as her own. And that is at the very heartbeat of this story as she is dealing with some of the challenges of being a nightclub dancer, some of the challenges of living in some of the areas outside of Mexico City or around Mexico City where a lot of women are being taken advantage of in the whole prostitution area, and trying to raise this child. And that is really the all of the emotional levers that are being pulled in this movie to great effect. And I think Ninon Sevilla does a great job balancing all of these aspects of her character with a lot of emotion and a lot of emotional depth and heft to her character. So just amazing. The dancing is amazing. The music is amazing. Her acting is amazing. She is incomparable. Marginalization and exploitation in the red light districts of Mexico City. So this is a big part of the challenge of this film in terms of the emotional weight that this film brings and the emotional currents that you're put through is just seeing the treatment of these ladies in this situation, by people taking advantage of them, so to speak. And when you are in a situation where you feel like you don't have other opportunities, and the things that people, unfortunately will do in order to survive, it's just an example of how people can be marginalized and exploited in these types of situations. And this film, shows you that and shows a little piece of history along the way. Ninon Sevilla, of course, is in this state, and she's, having to fight her way through that. Then you have these other wonderful characters in this film. So there's three main characters in this film that really drive the narrative of this film. Of course, you have Ninon Sevilla. She plays Violetta. Violetta, the young woman who is a dancer in this nightclub, and she finds this baby and takes this baby in as her own, and she delivers an amazing performance as this nightclub dancer. She does everything she can to protect this abandoned child. And the circumstances that lead to the abandonment of this child is one of the most heartbreaking sequences in film that I've ever seen. I just, that once I saw that, I was like, my jaw about hit the ground. And I just said, I've got to see what in the world is going to happen in the rest of the story. It was just heartbreaking. But hey, that's the power of film. It can definitely pull emotions out of you there. But that was definitely crazy. She really demonstrated a lot of strength of character in just the way that she carried herself through the adversity of all of these circumstances that took place in the type of work that she was having to do in the red light district of Mexico City, where she ended up toward the end of the film and then coming out of it, which I won't spoil, but it just showed amazing strength of character that she displayed as Violetta in this film. Just wonderful from Nino Sevilla. Tico Junco played Santiago. So Junco brings a lot of depth to Santiago, portraying a man who is deeply entangled in the underworld's moral ambiguity. So he's part of this moral ambiguity, but he also loves this woman Violetta, and they have a nice relationship, a wonderful relationship that has hope for some of the portion of this film. Then you have Rodolfo Acosta, who plays sort of the villain of this film. He is the antagonist, and he just is a character who is very easy to dislike in this film. He is basically giving Violetta a very difficult time and making her life miserable. You also have Rita Montaner, who is the mother of the baby, and I'll show her in just a second. But these are just wonderful, wonderful characters all the way around from these three: Tico Junco as Santiago, Rodolfo Acosta as Rodolfo, and Ninon Sevilla as Violetta. Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Of course, you have Rita here, who is playing who is the character played by Rita Montanier, and it's heartbreaking decisions and consequences. So she is the mother who leaves her child in this garbage can, only to be found by Violetta. And then, of course, you see the child here, now at the age of like 6 or 7 years old, and the very difficult circumstances that he is going through at this stage of the film that I won't spoil, but it's just all part of the compelling narrative that Emilio Fernandez, this journey he takes you on, this journey of emotion that is played out in this Mexican melodrama that I found to be extremely, extremely compelling on so many different levels. The life for women during this time, the life for women like Violetta was not easy. It was very hard. You were being exploited and taken advantage of, and it was a case of people that felt little hope or felt like they didn't have any other options. And you see the challenges that they were going through in the situation from people who felt little to no compassion for them. They just treated them like they were less than human. And so that is shown in this film. Just an absolutely fantastic film all the way around. Victims of Sin, Victimas del Pecado. A lot of different layers to the film. When I do these reviews, I try not to share a lot of the story beats in terms of going beat by beat. I don't really like to do that because I want you to be able to experience this film for yourself, but I hope I've shared enough for you to have a general idea of what is going on in this film. It is a wonderful film that I recommend checking out if you're interested in foreign films. This film is in Spanish with English subtitles. So if you are someone that you don't like foreign films, you don't want to read subtitles, then this is not a recommendation for you. But if you are someone who is interested in foreign films and checking out different areas of cinema, and you have an interest in that, and discovering different genres of film in different countries from different directors, learning about amazing and talented performers like Ninon Sevilla that you may not have even heard of before, then this is a great film to consider. So if you fall in that camp, I can definitely recommend Victims of Sin, and definitely for the next upcoming 50% off sale, whether it's the flash sale from Criterion, perhaps in October, or the upcoming November Barnes & Noble sale, which the good thing is, the wonderful thing about the gap between the July Barnes & Noble sale and the November Barnes & Noble sale is that it's like half of the gap between the November and the next July sale, which is like an 8-month gap. This is more like a 4-month gap. So the November sale will be here before we even know it. So And in fact, in a few days from the time I'm recording this video, we're going to learn about the Criterion Collection announcements for November. So that should be super duper exciting. So that's my thoughts on the film. I think the film is fantastic and can definitely recommend it. In terms of this release itself, let's take a look at it. On the inside, like I said, I think this cover is one of the best covers of the year. In fact, if I were to vote right now, I would probably give Victimas del Pecado my vote as being best cover of the year. It is that good. I love the color scheme. I love the colors. I love what's going on the inside here with the disc here. Wonderful. You have a nice, colors going on here. So it's a beautiful looking release. As far as the picture quality, this is a new 4K digital restoration. You get uncompressed monaural soundtrack. And it looks beautiful. This is a 1951 film in black and white. Looks beautiful with this 4K digital restoration. I'll read a little bit about the master, but it is a beautiful looking film on Blu-ray. Beautiful restoration work. I didn't see hardly anything in the way of blemishes in the picture. I thought it was cleaned up really beautifully. It says here about the master. Stop dropping it. Says here about the master, and it says Victims of Sin is presented in the aspect ratio of 1.37:1. This new 4K restoration was created from the 35mm nitrate original camera negative, and the original monaural soundtrack was remastered from the 35mm optical track negative. One of the features of this film, of course, is the wonderful music sequences with that sort of Afro-Cuban sound, with the Afro-Cuban dance sequences. And it sounded terrific, and it looks terrific on this Blu-ray. So overall, the presentation is another winner from Criterion in terms of the video and audio quality. Now, it is a 70-plus-year-old film, so it's not going to look like a brand new film, but it is beautifully restored, and this black and white film looks undoubtedly better than it's ever looked before on home video. I'm not even sure of any previous home video releases, but it is without a doubt that this is the best presentation available on the home video market today. It's a 4K digital restoration. It looks clean. It looks beautiful. Just a nice, healthy, organic looking image all the way around. And I was very, very happy with it. Have really no complaints that I can think of for the picture quality of this film that's been restored, this film from 1951. So Victims of Sin looks and sounds very, very nice. Now, as far as the special features, you do get included, I'll talk about the essay first, a wonderful essay in here called Dancing in the Dark by Jacqueline Avila. And this is a wonderful, wonderful essay from Jacqueline Avila because she talks about this particular genre of cinema called the cabaretera film, which she calls it an offshoot of the popular prostitute melodrama. And she talks about films like that. She talks about, Violetta, the character portrayed by Ninon Sevilla and Emilio Fernández, the director, and the production of this film. So she does a really nice job with this essay. So definitely check that out. But this is a really nice release in terms of that essay. And then those special features. You get a new interview with filmmaker and archivist Vivian Garcia Besnay, which is very nice. Then you get a new interview with cinematographer Rodrigo Prieto on the work of Gabriel Figueroa. So Figueroa, who was the cinematographer on this film, you learn a lot about the influence of Gabriel Figueroa. And I'll just share my screen here so you can see sort of the impact of this cinematographer. So the cinematographer who did this film, Victims of Sin, Gabriel Figueroa, is the same cinematographer who influenced modern cinematographers like Rodrigo Prieto. So Rodrigo Prieto is a Mexican cinematographer. He is featured on this interview here in this release. And here he is right here. He is best known for Brokeback Mountain in 2005, the Ang Lee film, Bobble from 2006, Argo from 2012, the Ben Affleck film, The Wolf of Wall Street from Martin Scorsese, and Silence from 2016. So you'll see here, these are some of the films here: The Brokeback Mountain, Wolf of Wall Street, Babel, Argo, all films that many of us today are familiar with. Those films, from a cinematography standpoint, part of the influence for those films is the cinematographer of this 1951 Mexican film, Victims of Sin, that was lensed by Gabriel Figueroa, who had an influence on a future Mexican born cinematographer, Rodrigo Prieto. So it's really good to see him come in and talk about that, his influence on him. And then you have an archival documentary on Cine de Rumberas, featuring interviews with actor Ninon Sevilla. So those were some interviews, some archival interviews. Of course, Miss Sevilla is no longer with us, but it was nice to sort of see her talk about her experiences and sort of talk about the parallels of this film with her own life. I thought that was really interesting, and just sharing some of her other experiences working with the director and some of the other directors, and just her general life story. So found that very, very interesting. She was an amazing performer, and I definitely enjoyed seeing her in this film. She was a phenomenal talent and an absolute gem of Mexican cinema. Ninon Sevilla directed in this film, Victims of Sin, Victimas del Pecado by Emilio Fernández, and it is highly recommended from the Criterion Collection. Spine 1222, film from 1951, and has one of the best covers of the year, in my opinion. Thank you very much. I got to give whoever did this cover all the credit in the world. In fact, let us look that up real quick. Why don't we just look it up real quick? And then we'll close out this review in style. All right. Of course, this here, I did a little live stream earlier reacting to the CC40 set, which is a set that is getting a fair amount of different reactions. Some people are excited about it. Some people are like, "Oh, I already have all these films. What's the point?" But the point is, everything Criterion releases is not for everybody. I have most of those films in that set, so it's not for me. But if it's for someone, it's probably for someone that maybe is just getting started in Criterion and doesn't have a lot of films in that set. That could be one heck of a great starter kit, for Criterion. But it just depends on what you're into. So this is, let me see here, new cover by Lauren Tamaki. Lauren Tamaki, you did an amazing job on this cover. Kudos for this amazing cover. You just might have made the best cover of the month for Criterion, but we shall see. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Victims of Sin. Definitely consider picking it up on a future sale. And I am going to be doing a review of Saint Omer on this channel shortly after this. So be on the lookout for that. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this film, Victims of Sin? Have you seen it? What do you think of other films from this director, Emilio Fernández, as well as other films that starred Ninon Sevilla? She's an amazing talent, and I'm very interested in learning about more films that she's appeared in. Now, you do see some of that in the special features, but let me know if you have any favorites of yours that you want to recommend of her performances, or other films from Emilio Fernández, or other examples of Mexican cinema in this particular genre. Let us know all that goodness in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.